Today's episode is sponsored by Billy Keel's Advisory Services. If you want to learn more about how to make your 99 optional, just go to makeitoptional.com. Once again, that's makeitoptional.com.
Helping you build freedom without losing your edge. This is the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels.
There's so many reasons that I love this podcast. I absolutely pour so much time, effort, and energy into it because I get to meet amazing people with a microphone, right? And so it's one of these things, even when it's people that I already know, like today's guest, right? Today's guest, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this guy because he is amazing. Not only did he have his corporate roots in the telecommunications industry, following that, he also learned how to document a corporate journey prior to even doing some deep dive into helping very large multinational companies, more than 200 of them, I did say more than 200 of them, understand how to maximize the human capital. And he was doing that with, surprise, surprise, enterprise software solutions. That's near and dear to my heart. And he may even mention the company or companies that he helped to do that. But since then, he's actually continued to take that corporate experience and he's elevated it to another level where he's now helping to accompany individuals and organizations to maximize their human capital performance. You know what? It gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation the ICF certified, and he's going to tell us what that means, founder of Olivier Mormin Coaching. Welcome to the show, Mr. Olivier Mormin. Welcome to the show, Olivier.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you.
Oh man, so excited to actually have you here finally. It's a little bit strange for you and I because now we've got this microphone in between the two of us, and that's okay.
And the screen.
Oh, that's true. And the screen. So hopefully I've talked a little bit about you in the right ways, but more important, Olivier, I've just kind of given some of the highlights. What I would really love for you to do is share with the Going Long family your own backstory in your own words. And then if it's okay with you, we'll see where you and I take the conversation from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Where do I start? I'm French, living in Barcelona with my family since 8 years, a bit more than 8 years now. Mm-hmm. More than 25 years of corporate experience, as you mentioned. And actually arrived in Barcelona because I was transferred from the Paris office to the Barcelona office in the same company. Mm-hmm. And what do I do next? I left this company 2 years ago. We'll discuss more about it, I guess, more in details. And since a bit less than 2 years, it will be 2 years in February next year, in a couple of months from now. It will be my second anniversary owning my own company, which I never thought I would do one day. But it's a life, is a following of adventures, and sometimes you don't plan for everything. And if you would have told me 2 years ago, exactly this day, that I would have my own company, but today I would not believe it. But here I am, and most of all, enjoying it.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that, man. And so there's this conversation piece when you talk about being able to follow an adventure or follow your curiosity, which is for many people, it stays at just a dream or maybe even a thought, but they don't actually take action on it. You've mentioned to me before, this is just as you're talking to us, that you were in one country and now you're in a different country. Yes. I speak to a lot of people constantly that have this goal of moving to another country, but don't actually take the step. So before we even dig into some of the other things, just in terms of your corporate life, et cetera, because this is a real life thing, talking to so many people that have these desires, but they never act on them. Can you talk us through what it was that motivated you, your family to want to move from one country to another?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because you mentioned two things. Sometimes you have this internal voice that says, hey, it would be nice to do this and this. And let me talk about another country which I did not mention, which is the third country I've been living in, which is Germany. And so it was way back in 2005. I just got married, actually.
Okay.
And the company I was working for actually was centralizing their technical support operations in Munich. I had the choice between Munich and London. And then they said, so yeah, this is the plan. This is what we ask you to do, to transfer to either to Munich or to London. And, there is also this protective side of us, this is the amygdala in the brain that says, no, this is dangerous. Don't do it. And my first reaction was to say no when I had the conversation with my wife, and we said, if I just lose this job, we just go on a world tour and for 1 year, and we'll see what comes with life, And in the end, I was thinking, wait a minute, because I always wanted to live abroad. And this is the perfect occasion because I keep my job. One of us keeps the job. They will help us with everything, installation, setup, administration, paperwork, etc., etc. So it's kind of comfortable. And by the way, France and Germany is the next country. So if it doesn't turn good, we just have to take our car and we get back to France. So it's also not the other side of the globe, And we did it. We did it, and we had almost 4 lovely years in Munich. And this is how it started with me to say, it's actually fine to live in another country from the one,
I think that's wonderful. So not only did it happen from France to Spain, France to Germany, back to France, and then to Spain. So I think that's fantastic. One of the things that and this is something that I talk about all the time is, whenever you have the opportunity, like corporate life it was really good to me. Right. I know that corporate life was really good to me. There were many times in my life where I said I absolutely loved corporate life. And then there were other moments where I said to myself, well, actually, I'm not sure if I love it, but I like it a lot. I gave a lot to corporate, and corporate gave a lot to me, to my family. And I'm just curious because you had almost 30 years, almost 3 decades, right, in corporate roles, very similar to me. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was for you, some of the main skills that you were able to build during your corporate experience?
Oh, that's a great question. Actually, I would answer it the other way. I would say sometimes you enjoy corporate and it's great, it's amazing. But sometimes you just also don't realize what you benefit from when you are in corporate. Sometimes you are in this big structure and you think, it's complex and it's rigid. And, I don't have the freedom I want and I would like to have, etc., etc., etc. And what I'm saying this is because now that I work with entrepreneurs who have never been in corporate, and this is how I realized that, oh, wait a minute, because this I thought was an acquired way of working, And when in my engagement coachings or in my approach with prospects or whatever, and you realize that there are a lot of people in the world that never approach corporate and they just don't know how to work the same way. I'm not saying they work, the way they work is bad, it's a different way of doing things. And for you, it's just, you realize that it's just normal to do this, So the communication, working with great account team and so on, planification is a big issue, I tell you, outside of corporate. Sometimes I speak with clients and like, hey, wait, you have to plan that,
Yeah.
And then this is how I realized, okay, those were some of the benefits of working corporate for years, even without noticing it, because it felt so normal. I hope it answers your question.
Yeah, it absolutely does, because it comes back to the skill set. And so what I take away from that is some of the things that you enjoyed, or some of the skill set that you actually built during corporate, is one of the I would even say it's almost a side effect of being in corporate, because of such specialization. And maybe we can come back to that. The specialization that you have, being able to focus on something, it's really important to be able to have a planning process, and being able to not just plan, but then once you have a solid plan, you're able to work against that particular plan to get to an outcome. So just want to make sure that I was following you there in terms of what you wanted to share. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So speaking of which, on that idea, right? You talked about, or we mentioned, both of the two of us, that there is there's this element that you found in terms of your specialization in corporate, and it really is around human capital management or talking about people and the importance of people. And we also talked about that aspect of performance. And so what was it that led you to move in an area around human capital or working with people to be able to focus your time, effort, and energy to build your specialization?
Very good question. Actually, it's almost, I have to tell you the story, it's related to Germany, but it's almost an accident. So both my wife and I lost our job during the financial crisis in 2009.
Yep.
So didn't find anything in Germany. We decided, okay, if it's to be unemployed, we probably would better stay in our own country.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved back to Paris. And I was looking for a job. The market was really difficult at this time with the subprime crisis and so on.
Yeah.
And I got approached actually by this Californian startup called Success Factors, founded by a Danish guy who moved to California to make his dream happen and still living the dream life, I guess, there. And they did approach me. And actually, they wanted to send me back to Munich to work with one of their big accounts, a huge company there. And as I told, life is a series of adventures you don't control, you know? And when I discussed that with my wife, it's also the moment where she told me she was pregnant. And so, you know, coming back to Munich and move and so on, she was not into it. So we decided to say no to the job offer. And actually, the company was so great that they created a position for me in Paris. And this is where, by accident, I started a journey. I always call this incredible journey that I had in the world of HR for 16 years after that, from 2009 until 2023, which is 14 years, sorry. So it's not by vocation. It was an accident, but it was probably one of the best things in my life, I tell you. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. So what I find interesting is you'd mentioned that in 2005, you and your wife were speaking about, you know, moving to Germany and said, you know, why not? Worst thing that can happen is that we have to go back to our home country. No one saw the great financial crisis happening. So in 2009, your worst case scenario actually became a reality. And so you went back home to your country. And here you are many years later, able to talk about life and experiences that you have lived. And now I know you and I've spoken about a number of different things that have happened for me. I now say they happened for me. At the time, I felt like they happened to me. But when you are able to look back, I'm just curious. I don't know if you've ever even stopped to think about that, Olivier, but I think about so many people that are, you know, the worst case scenario, no one ever wants to live it. But when you have a worst case scenario, and this is a simple example of leaving your country, moving somewhere else, not thinking that the company would downsize, but you actually live through that. What lessons did you learn about yourself and resilience going through and living through your worst case scenario?
Lesson number one, worst case scenario never happens. Okay, so I guess 90% of the scenarios we make in our head, I was talking before about the amygdala, whose role is to protect us, they never occur. They never happen. But of course, it's necessary to have this kind of alarm bell that says, hey, be careful because this might happen. So it also helps you to better plan, I would say. And I also want to kind of answer your question on a different side, on the positive side, to say, sometimes people think about, I see it with many clients, you know, they say, yeah, you know, I'm tired of this job. I've been working in this bank for 15 years. I can no longer, or to insurance company, etc., etc. And they say, all they think about is the next step. I want to do this. I want to be open, I don't know, bakery or, you know. And it's interesting because I always come back to them and say, but you also have to analyze what has been happening in your life in the past 15 years, 20 years, whatever. Because And this is when I do, I have a specific presentation I do to them, and I start with that. This is my first slide. It's your strengths. When I look at your resume, your LinkedIn profile, this is what I see. You only think about, corporate, I cannot breathe anymore, I don't want to do something else, etc., etc. But me, as an external person who doesn't know you very well yet, this is what I see. And I want you to also pay attention to this and include this in your luggage for the next step. Don't forget, don't burn everything that you've been living, because it's part of your story and it's part of who you are and it's part of your strengths.
Yeah, it's, it is amazing that the stories that we tell ourselves,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And it is normally in a protection type of situation. And when those scenarios, and sometimes the worst case scenario is just, it's something that you say, like, we have to go back home. But what I also really appreciate about you and what you've shared with us, and what I really want the audience to understand is, even if it does happen, it's usually not as terrible as you imagined it would be, because you're still able to talk about what took place, right? So much to the point that you were still motivated to move to another country later on later in life. How did that scenario play out for you, Olivier? Because you left country before, you had an experience that happened for you, right? The company downsized and you moved back. And then you had another opportunity years later to leave your country again. What was the decision process, or how had it modified from maybe the first time that you made the decision to move, no kids, with your wife to another country, versus now with kids to another country?
It's a very good question. It's an amazing question. It's actually, you said it, the kids factor is the variable that changes everything. 2005, we were just married. We were just the two of us. We're still young, you're like, whatever happens. And this is really what we said. Whatever happens, if things turn wrong, we just take our car and we come back. And this is the next country. This is the neighbor country. You do it a couple of years afterwards, with kids this time. And we based our move to Barcelona on the one we did for Munich. So we were like, we know how it works. We did it once, everything will be fine. And then you just forget one thing, is that you have kids now. And when you do this type of projects and you have kids, I'm sure you know about that, because you place them at the center of everything.
Yeah.
So everything that was so swift and agile in 2005, you have to pay more attention now, because we have the kids, so we cannot do everything we want, so we have to pay more attention to that. And that is something also we didn't know, or we learned on the way. Fortunately, until today, it turned pretty okay. So, but it's adding a lot of tension, because you don't do just the decision for two people, you do for four, I would say.
Yeah.
I hope this answers the question too.
Yeah, no. So that is something else in terms of the way that you make decisions and the children factor. Speaking of which, and this is just I wouldn't even say it's a pivot, but it's just a slight move, because one of the things that I have appreciated about your corporate experience prior to becoming business owner is the longevity. There's such a moment now where we see that when people are working at large companies, maybe you work for a couple of years in one company, you then go somewhere else for 3 years, you do the salary increase, and you move and you move and you move and you move. But I also noticed that you even talked about it, right? From 2004 to 2023, you had different life experiences, and you were able to have different corporate and life experiences within the same company, right? Quote unquote, same company. Could you talk to us a little bit about what that gave you in terms of being able to have such a longevity in one company, and how that has helped you in terms of forming your perspective in the way that you serve others today?
Yeah, for me, I relate it, the longevity, I relate it to one simple word, which is the energy.
Mm.
So, and that's what I say also to people when I have this conversation with people in corporate, and they say, yeah, it used to work for me. I did enjoy it. You talked about liking it or loving it, So some people really, and they say, but now things have changed. So either the company has changed, either you as a person have changed. Maybe the two of them have changed also. But the first question I would ask to someone is, do you still have this energy? And that's why I was able to stay in the same company for so long, is because what I was doing was giving me the energy. And the day when I started to notice that I was losing some of that spark, nothing bad against the company, but I was losing the spark. And this is where I started, to have those questions about, whoa, is it really what I want to do now? And what should I do next? There is a beautiful book from a coach, well-known executive coach in the US called Marshall Goldsmith.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of the book, if I'm not wrong, is What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
Yeah.
And this summarizes the question, because basically the choice you made 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when you entered this company, if you stayed for so long, the world has changed so much in 20 years, and you have changed as well. So you have to pay attention to that.
Yeah, when you talk about paying attention to energy, what got you here won't get you there, and making decisions in life. Because I know that a lot of corporate execs, they tend to struggle with making decisions at a certain point. Very similar to what you were talking about before, because at one point in your life, it's about you, maybe your spouse, and maybe it's about being in the same place. At another point, it can be because maybe your parents are aging or your children are aging, and there are responsibilities that take place. I know these are conversations that we have with people individually, but sometimes you feel like you're the only one in the world who's going through these challenges or these struggles, because there's some new things that are happening, new priorities in your life. Would you speak to that person who feels like maybe they're having some of these challenges, some of that change in the energy? Are they all by themselves? Is that something that is part of a normal evolution? What's your thought around that?
Yeah, I'll start with the second question. Is it part of the evolution? I would say yes and no, because some people could have the corporate career for 40 years and they're fine with it. And some people would enter in a corporate company and not even go until the end of the trial period and say, oh, this is not my word. And some people in between could be, okay, I did it, but now, I might do something else. And the first part of the question, yes, it happens. It's really hard. Also, I have to say, you come from, we've been working in the same company, and it's not related to this company. It's an environment. It's really difficult for this type of people once they are in this situation, when they start to doubt their current situation. It's really hard to mention it inside the company itself.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you talk about what that means when they start to doubt themselves around what? Because I think that's important.
Very good question. I would say, so I was mentioning the loss of energy and spark, Sometimes it's also the loss of balance. So some people are tired to do the flights from Monday to Friday and see the kids only on Saturday. Some people would say, yes, it's fine, but in the end, this is not what makes me happy. You have different type of situations. I would think that making 1 million would make me happy, and now I realize that it doesn't. So what makes me happy, really? So there are a variety of situations where people can have the doubt, and start to doubt the situation. Sometimes it's also a massive change in the company strategy, where they say, okay, I don't recognize myself anymore in the values, the new values of the company, the new behavior. Sometimes it could be also an accident in the career. So you get assigned to a new manager, and then the two of you don't fit very well together. So many things can happen. So many things.
Yeah. So when you think about these different variables that come into play, ultimately what you want to be able to do is help someone find clarity, to be able to help guide someone so that they can get to a I guess a result, but also enjoying and learning a lot about getting to the result as a result of the process that they're going through. At a certain point in your life, you were, you and I both, we've talked about it, almost 3 decades in corporate life. I believe, right, and this is just me putting it out there, I believe I don't believe, I know it's true. Every relationship comes to an end, whether because you decide, the other person decides, or your time has expired on earth, right? Finality, meaning that you are deceased. Every relationship ends. Like none of us will finish. But if we just keep it in the corporate sense, right? That corporate option always exists to be able to go back to. You've had an extremely successful corporate career. And at this point in your life, you've decided that you want to own your own business. Can you talk to us about what that thought process was for you? Because we could all go back to corporate. I could go back to corporate tomorrow, but I've made life decisions. And sometimes there are people that are watching or listening because, oh, by the way, if you're not watching us on the video version, you should check out Olivier and I on the video version because we're here for you to check us out. But let me not digress. Could you talk to us about your path in deciding corporate life, been great to me, now I want to try something else?
Yeah. I would say it's a combination of 3 things. The first one is corporate life at some point can be really stressful. So I mentioned the travels, the escalations, whatever. I was working in customer success, So when you have this big HR project that has to be live and this specific deadline, your customer doesn't want to know about the constraints of your company. They want to be live, and this creates a lot of tension. So, and I remember that it was a lot of stress, and my position at the time was to be in the middle of my company and my customer. And actually, I was the advocate of my customer inside my company, and I was the advocate of my company inside my customer. But this creates a lot of tension between the two of them, and you're the middle guy, accumulating all of this, which has led to a really, really, really serious health issue, which until today we don't know what happened. I'm fine now. I got an operation, but then I kind of went to see some doctors and say, I want to understand what's the origin of that. And every doctor I spoke to related it to stress. So I thought, okay, this is first warning. Second warning, the kids. When your kids are small and you say, Dad is going to Italy for 3 nights, they don't even understand what 3 nights is, So you don't understand at some point that you won't be here and you will return, but they don't have an idea of the duration. But then I realized one day that I was my first daughter, my older daughter. I said, Dad is going, I think it was Netherlands or Italy again. And I said, Dad is going to Italy or Netherlands for 3 nights and I will be back. And I saw something on her face that she didn't like it. And that was for me a fire alarm call. And I said, I have to stop that. That's me. That's because my family is priority number 1 in life. And I said, I have to pay attention to that.
Yep. Did you ever feel like that was that the moment? Did you feel like it was getting out of alignment? The priority in terms of what you said, family versus travel, was that an internal thing for you?
No, and that it was started. It was, when I was discussing about the doubt earlier, it was starting at this time, but so just sometimes you just don't pay the right attention to it. It was the first alarms that were put in place. And then the third thing was the company was changing. The way I was executing my role with my customers was also changing. And what was fun in the past was no longer there. This energy was no longer there. So at some point you're like, okay, what's the point in staying here? Okay. And I had to make a decision at some point of thinking. And the third point for me is also an important one, is it was also about the values. Do I realize myself by doing this job every day? I was super happy to do it. I did it in a way that gave me a lot of energy. Today is no longer the case. Do I want to keep staying in this company just because of the benefits or whatever? Or do I want to be able to say, oh, I did something, I did the thing that gives me the joy? And one of my favorite quotes in life is from an American author, Joseph Campbell, who said, the privilege of a lifetime is to be who you truly are. And I had to think about who I really wanted to be in my life, professional, personal, with my family as well. And then who was not matching the corporate job anymore. And that's why those three reasons are the basis why I took this decision, basically. Okay. Long story short.
No, yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that, because everybody's journey is different. And I know that the more that we can learn from others who have been there before us, it just helps us to have another proof of concept. It helps us to realize that there is no one particular path. Everyone's path is different. And so by being able to hear your path today, Olivier, you're helping people around the globe, right? You're helping so many people. So that before I kind of get into the last question, so you've taken these collective experiences, you have recognized that there was looking at your health, looking at your benefit, looking at your value, at the values, and looking at your family structure, say that, in general, helped to lead you to a decision that said, okay, well, now I want to take this collective experience and help others. I know we've talked about it, or at least I talked about it in the very beginning, but talk to us a little bit about how you, with Olivier Mormin coaching, that you are helping others. Who are the individuals that you're helping, just so we have an idea as well? Would be helpful.
Thank you. Actually, there are two ways to help them. One, you mentioned it yourself, is to say, wait, I did it, so there is a life after corporate. If you want to say remain within your corporate job, fine, but you have to make sure, you have to promise yourself, not me, but yourself, that you're okay with that. So internally, you're 100% okay with that. So it's not about the mortgage, the car, the benefits, the salary. Yes, of course, there is the financial security that comes every time in every discussion, of course. But you have to make sure that deeply you are in agreement with this 100%. Okay. So, but I always say, I did it. And I always say, there is one sentence I always say to my clients. I always say, it's not easy, but it's possible. So I'm not promising you that tomorrow will be like that, but it's possible. I know it's possible because I've lived it. Second reason is the privilege of a lifetime is to be who you truly are. It's do you truly want to be? And there is this beautiful book, I'm sure you know about it, The 7 Habits of Stephen Covey. Where he describes... so we described the funeral, and there is people around the coffin, and you realize it's a visualization exercise, and then you realize that you are in the coffin. And the question is, what do you want these people to say about you? And even more powerful, what would you like to say about you on the last day of your life? You mentioned it earlier. And this is what I ask people to think about. Who do you really truly want to be, and truly be remembered as, and what is more important for you? And because this is where you should go. We only have one life, so go for it. Go for it, truly.
Definitely. So, so very helpful. Understanding more about where and who you're helping through your services. And so there's one last question that I do want to ask, and this is just as a result of life happening for me in 2023. It's something you and I have talked about before, but now we can just kind of share this. And really, I'm looking for a life lesson that you can share with others. And that in 2023, there were a number of different things that happened. Now I can see that they happened for me. It helped me to understand that I can reach out to others. I don't have to always have the answers for everything. I don't always have to solve everyone else's issues. I can also say, hey, look, I need help. I want to, I'm looking for different insight. But at the end of the day, no matter how much I let others in, at the end of the day, I had to have conversations with myself. Why? Because when the moments are really, really high, most people don't think about the moment that they're in because it's so positive. It's usually when the moments are like my moment in 2023, when they're low moments and you feel like they're going to go forever and ever and ever and ever. But the reality is they're just another moment in life. And so had I not had conversations with myself to look myself in the mirror and to say whatever, it's highly unlikely that I would be here today in the way that I am, recognizing that things happen for me. But I had to have that conversation with myself. I had to say something to myself in that low moment. Now, anyone who's an entrepreneur, a business owner, a lot of times, you have the high moments and you have the low moments. But specifically, I would love for you to share, Olivier, with us, thinking about yourself 3 years down the line, right? You're projecting out to 3 years from now. I don't want to timestamp it, but 3 years from now. And you're going to go through some of these low moments. What's the message that you know that you need to deliver to your future self to help you through that low moment so that you can get to 3 years from now and say, you know what, Olivier, I'm really glad that I listened to myself to help me move through that low valley. What's the one message you want to leave with us?
One word: value. Value.
Value.
What is the most important? So in coaching, there is an exercise where you go and it's a process and you reach the core value of the person. So there is a methodology to do it. And there is always one moment where you go from value 1 to value 2 and down and down and down. And there is, for every person, there will be a moment where the person would say, no, that's it. I know. This is my core value. I can give you mine, it's serenity. Mm-hmm. So the first time I did this exercise, we did dig down, in my values, and then I reached serenity and I was like, no, there is nothing below serenity. This is my ground value. So first of all, be able to understand what are your values and what is your core value. What is it really that you like and you want? But then I would say it's super interesting what you said about, I was listening to myself, I was talking to myself. I can't remember how you said it exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's also important that I'm convinced, and this is coaching, everyone has the answer inside of themselves. Mm-hmm. The reason why you need a coach is because you don't know how to access them. Yeah. Why? Because we have the rational part of the brain who does 90% of the job, and which is 2 + 2 = 4. This will never change. Okay. But then when it comes to, and it takes power, it takes control, and the friend amygdala is also in the background, controlling what he says to you, so take no risk, etc., etc. But when it comes to deep values, who you are, your personality, this is the other side of the brain, the unconscious part of the brain. That represents 90% of the brain size. Numbers may vary, but this person knows everything about Billy. So from the moment you were in your mom's womb, and we say kids in the womb, they can listen to the music, they can have an experience of taste, etc., and feeling. They know if their mother is worried or joyful. This accumulates and it's part of you. And what coaching does, it helps you connect with this part, which has the deepest answers to what you really want. So 2 + 2 = 4, conscious brain, really fast, it's always correct, it's always exact, but doesn't give you the meaning, doesn't give you the value, doesn't give you the depth. And if you need to access this part, then this is where coaching comes, and this is where I was talking about the fact that at some point we touch the core value. People say, now I know what I want in life. I always call this the treasure of coaching, because after this realization, trust me, they're no longer the same person because they know. And how do they know? It's because they've been able to reach to this unconscious part where the biggest knowledge of Billy is, and the biggest amount of information about Billy is in the world.
Yeah. It's there, it's value, it's being able to understand what's your value, and then from there being able to understand the value that that you can also receive through coaching and having that outside in perspective. So Olivier, like the thing is I always struggle because I want to talk to you forever. I know that I can talk to you again because, well, you and I are, we're very accessible to one another. So here's the thing though. These conversations fly by. And before I even recognize it, I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, you and your wife were following an adventure. That adventure took you to another country to explore a corporate career that was already successful, and going against and recognizing what's the worst thing that can happen. Well, even if it just meant going home, well, we're going to go ahead and take it. And so you left your country going to another. Well, that scenario did arise. And guess what? What did you do? You followed your plan. You went back home. At that time, you recognized that, hey, listen, we're home, want to start a family. The family starts, the corporate experience was there. And then there was an opportunity. Like you said, it wasn't by a plan, but the plan has worked out very well because you were able to, for over a span of 14 years, 2 different countries, be able to have specialization around understanding the importance of human capital. And that is no matter where you are. And so within the constructs of a big corporate, thinking about how it works with software, and anybody that wants to find out more about you, they can know all about the software solutions that you are a part of, that was a part of a world that you and I are very close to. But more importantly, what it's helped you to do is to continue to go along this path and recognize, yes, you can have longevity in a corporate career. You can learn, you can grow, you can give to others. And even you can get to a point to recognize that the corporate machine continues to be the corporate machine. And as you continue to evolve, you can explore what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And when those different values are aligned, it's okay, continue. And if they happen to not be aligned, as you said, well, it's okay. You're building a skill set, specialization. You can leverage those skills to do something like your own, much like you've done, where you've gone out and you've said, I'm going to take these almost 3 decades of corporate experience. Now I'm going to go out and I'm going to serve others with your certifications and with Olivier Mormin coaching. And so everybody's thinking, Billy, just ask him the question. So Olivier, I'm going to ask you the question because everybody wants to know, what is the best way for the Going Long family to find out more about you, how we can engage, and how we can be in touch? Help us understand. How can we find out more about you and be in touch with you?
Sure. I would say today the safest way, I'm saying safe because we are currently reworking on my website, so it will be having a different look and feel in a couple of weeks from now. So the safest way would be my LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So if you search for me, Olivier Mormin or Olivier Mormin Coaching, you will find me. Yep. And then in a couple of weeks from now, there will be the new version of the website, which is oliviermormin.com. Very easy, first name, last name.com. Mm-hmm. And we're also working now on the Instagram presence and the branding on Instagram. So this is work in progress as well. But I would say, first of all, LinkedIn and then the website.
All right, fantastic. And Mormin, everyone, is Olivier is as it sounds, and we'll include the link, so don't worry. But Mormin, just in case, is Mormin. And what I would say is, because you mentioned LinkedIn, Olivier, and it's something I ask of all of the Going Long family, because everybody knows I'm very active over there as well. When, not if, but when you reach out to Olivier, please do yourself and Olivier a favor. Let Olivier know that you have already watched, because I'm sure you're watching the video version, or you've listened to today's conversation, because what that's going to help you do is it's going to allow you and Olivier to continue the conversation, knowing that you have a common base, knowing that you have this foundation of having invested time, learning more about Olivier, his story, and how he could potentially help you. So with that being said, Olivier, I do want to say thank you very, very, very much for deciding to invest your time with me and the entire Going Long family. Thank you very, very much. Merci beaucoup, and greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you for having me. I'm the one who is appreciative here. And yeah, well, it was a really quality time. I hope it's useful to everyone who will be listening or watching the video maybe in 50 years from now.
Exactly. Yes.
And I want to finish with one word because you mentioned it and I was like, I did not mention that word myself, but alignment, I guess, is the key.
Yeah.
Alignment.
Be fantastic. Aligned with who you are. Be aligned. That's it. That's it. Thank you so very much, Olivier. And thank you very much, Going Long family. Greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you back on the next episode.